People not attending is a perennial sort of risk you have to take on when you're doing work like this, and you can pre-check with the recruitment as often as you can. You call up people the night before, having recruited them, etc. Then there's always the freedom that they have to decide, at the last minute not to come. Hi there. Come and have a seat.
Anywhere.
Hello. Anywhere you like. Well, we can mix. Well, we've only got one boy so far. So let me introduce myself. I'm Julian Thompson. I work for Ipsos-MORI, which is the fine building you're in now. And I work for a thing called the Qualitative Hothouse, which is a bit of a strange name. It's we basically do, you might have heard of MORI, I don't know, in the papers, where we do things like opinion polls and we ask people how they might vote in the next general election and what they think of Gordon Brown and all sorts of things like that. But we do all kinds of research, and this kind of research, I think, personally, it gets really under the skin of all of that, because you can only find out so much from asking someone a questionnaire on a street corner. And this kind of work actually finds out much more about what people think, because you actually spend some proper time with them discussing how they feel about something. Often we have quite contradictory views about things. We don't really figure that out until we've actually had a chance to talk about it, discuss it, and kick it around with other people. Establishing rapport at the beginning is absolutely key, because it's what gives you your license as a moderator to do all the things you want to do and try all the things you want to try with a group. And it makes people feel comfortable, and it effectively increases the quality of what you get out of it a millionfold.
So looking at the example of perhaps social research, it's very, very important to us that we're speaking to people across a wide age group, across a broad social spectrum, to ensure that, if it's something that can be applicable to a population as a whole, it's very, very important that we're speaking to people from all sectors and all ends of that.
So what I'd like you to do is, if you can just go around, perhaps talk to the person next to you. So if you just in pairs, so you two and you two, you two and you two. So just introduce yourself to your partner and tell them a bit about yourself, your first name, what you like doing in your spare time, who you live with, if you're working or a student, whatever you're doing, what you do. And also I want you to ask them one thing that they would love to do if they just had some more time or more money. One hobby or a goal or a sort of just maybe something silly that they've always wanted to do, but you just never had quite the time to get around to doing. Okay? And you're going to introduce your partner to the rest of the group. Yeah? So you actually got to listen and remember what they say. So I'm throwing a lot at you already. Okay, so we'll just do that just for a couple of minutes, just a really quick thing, and then we'll introduce each other.
Establishing rapport is absolutely crucial and has to be done early. If it's not done early, you're probably going to struggle throughout the group. I try and do so as early as possible. I ask everybody's name and always something about them, something usually quite fluffy, that maybe to talk about their family or their job, something that people are generally very easily able to talk about. Then there's also using their first name as often as possible, so just drawing yourself a little map of the room. You're never going to remember everyone's name, but if you just draw yourself a map and write down their names next to it, you'll remember. And first names always make a big difference.
What I want to ask you is a very broad question. I just want you to completely open up your mind. Okay, so whatever comes into your mind, it might be something very, very random, completely off the wall, or it might be something quite mainstream, quite mundane. But if I say the word to you, freedom, but just start telling, just off the top of your head, what kind of things pop into your mind straight away? What sort of things? Michelle's speech? Yeah. I'm going to get all these down first, then we're going to talk about them a bit more. So I just want you to throw things out at me.
George Bush.
George Bush. Okay.
Prison.
Prison. Right. What else?
Does it maybe depend on your beliefs?
Yeah. Okay, let me try something, because and I'm conscious it's a general discussion at the moment. I'd like to ask you to try something out. We're going to try a couple of little exercises out tonight. They might not work, we'll see. It's just for fun, really, to try it out and see if there's different ways around the issue. I'd like to divide you up. So, well, let's just draw a line there between Michelle and Richard. So you four together, and then you four together. And I'm going to give you some post-it notes and a pen, and you're going to, within your team, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to try and come up with a list of freedoms that you feel that you get to exercise, or freedoms that you have in your daily lives. So what I'd like you to do then, if one of you could just come up and just post them up on this board here, just stick them up on there. Just anywhere you like, anywhere you like.
Sorry, mine are neat or nice for
Can you do the honours? Can you tell me just a bit about what you came up with in your group? Which ones on there are yours and why you've got some of them there?
Well, I'll start with my own ones that I wrote. We have freedom to privacy, to go to the loo whenever we wish, to be unemployed and to stay up late.
Let me try something out with you then. So for the last 10 minutes I want to try an exercise out, and it means we have to stand up. Now what we're going to do, I want you to all stand on that side first. You're going to start in this camp, okay, on that side of the line. Everyone? So everyone, yep. Right, what we're going to do for the last 10 minutes or so, we're going to divide into two camps. This basically, can you guys capture that, yeah? Are you okay? All right, this is called the comfort zone, okay? This is where you stay if what I read out to you is acceptable to you, okay? You're comfortable with it, you can live with it. It's not violating any freedom for you, it's not crossing a boundary, it's not, imposing anything on you can't handle. If I read something out to you and you think, okay, that's not fair, that's not acceptable, I'm not going to stick with that, you cross the line and you go into the discomfort zone, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? So what I'm going to start with doing is actually reading out some examples of things that are happening at the moment, and I'm also then going to read out some things that might happen in the future. And if you hear something which just crosses your own line mentally, says, I'm not going to stand for that, you cross over. Right, currently the law prevents you from buying firearms. Anyone unhappy with that? Want to cross over? No? All right. What about this one? The law currently does not allow for the death sentence, even for premeditated murder. Okay, so Ali disagrees. That's good, that's fine. Anyone? Yeah? Have a think about it. You might. So if it were to happen, they were to pass a law to allow people who are suspected of terrorism, no actual proof yet, but suspected of terrorism, could be held for 3 months without charge. I mentioned it a bit earlier on. 3 months in prison without charge. That's not acceptable, yeah? For some of you. So for you guys, who stay, why is that? So you're yeah, sorry, the question is, so if terrorism suspects, if in the future they passed a law to mean that terrorism suspects could be held for 3 months in prison without charge, are you comfortable with that, or you feel that's not comfortable? Leon? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's great. So wow, there's some mass movement over here. So someone else tell me, Ali, what's your feeling? Why is that not acceptable?
Too long without charge. That 3 months is a long time to hold someone without charge, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, you've got to hold them for a certain period of time, but I believe that, I don't know, if the police do their job properly and fast enough, they'll be able to do it within a shorter period of time than 3 months.
Yeah.
Weaknesses, I think they're not so good at sort of drilling down to personal detail. For example, in following somebody's personal story, let's say even their decision-making process, you just don't get that level of detail with them. And also, I mean, focus group, discussion groups do need to be managed very well, otherwise you can, for example, get the quiet respondents or the dominant respondents. Discussion groups are actually cheaper than depths, so you'll get 4 or 5 depth interviews to one discussion group, but with a discussion group, of course, you're speaking to 8 people. Also, depth interviews can take quite a long time, often you're travelling a lot. So with a discussion group, it's also faster. You can get the findings faster.